Watchtower won, guys. They really won. As you may know already, some time ago the Jehovah's Witnesses lost their state registration in Norway due to their shunning practices being considered a violation of human rights. Losing state registration meant losing state funding, a couple $1,000,000. Jehovah's Witnesses were still allowed to practice their religion freely and to participate in the preaching work. They were just not receiving any more free money from the state. The governing body lost their minds.
Recently, the government of Norway decided that Jehovah's Witnesses would no longer receive certain state benefits that are provided to all registered religions.
They declared this decision by Norway as religious persecution, and former governing body member Tony Morris swore that they would not bend to government pressures to adjust their disfellowshipping doctrine.
In the future, various governments will challenge our freedom of worship. They may pressure us to change our scriptural beliefs, but we're certainly not going to do that.
Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses in Norway were very brave, showing up to court and presenting their case against the Watchtower, proving that the shunning policy ruins lives. For 2 years, the Norwegian courts have upheld their decision to keep the JW religion unregistered. But now there's been a turn of events. Watchtower has won their state appeal. Now the legal battle has not ended. The case will be sent to the Norwegian Supreme Court and we have to wait to see what happens next. But it is quite disappointing for Watchtower to win when these brave ExJWs brought forward their testimony to show how this religion does ruin lives. Now this is quite unfortunate because we all know that shunning is a destructive policy and that Watchtower does not deserve a single kroner of taxpayer money. But we're gonna have to see what happens with the case. But regardless of what happens today, even if Watchtower was to win in the Supreme Court of Norway, today I want to share my thoughts on the future of this religion. Why I believe that even if Watchtower is able to win some legal battles, they already lost the war. Some of you might be rolling your eyes and listening to this. Panda, you're being hyperbolic. This religion is not going to disappear. And I know, dear viewer, there's always going to be Jehovah's Witnesses for decades to come. Religions rarely die off completely. But the case I want to present today is that this religion is destined to decline because it has everything going against it. Let me tell you why I think this. First, we have to consider how this religion was able to grow in the first place. Why did our parents and grandparents buy into the message of Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, what were Jehovah's Witnesses preaching in the 60s and 70s? It's simple. Jesus Christ began ruling invisibly from heaven in the year 1914. This was the beginning of the last days. The generation that witnessed the events of 1914 would not pass away before the arrival of Armageddon. Pretty clear, right? Now imagine you're a Jehovah's Witness living in the 60s. It's been more than 40 years since the establishment of God's kingdom in 1914. This means that the generation of 1914 is growing older and that Armageddon can't be too far away. Not only this, in the late 60s, Watchtower started pushing the idea that the year 1975 would be really significant in the fulfillment of Bible prophecy. They never explicitly said that Armageddon would arrive in 1975, but they did strongly imply it, with phrases like, "Stay alive till 75.
Well now, as Jehovah's Witnesses, as runners, even though some of us have become a little weary, it almost seems as though Jehovah has provided meat in due season, because he's held up before all of us a new goal, a new year, something to reach out for, and it just seems has given all of us so much more energy and power in this final burst of speed for the finish line. And that's the year 1975. As one brother put it, stay alive to 75.
It was understood that Armageddon could not be more than a few years away. This belief in an imminent Armageddon was the driving force behind the Jehovah's Witness preaching work. If you truly believed that the end was just around the corner, of course you're gonna do everything in your power to save people from destruction. By bringing them into Jehovah's one true organization. You sell your house, you cancel your college plans, you volunteer as a missionary in a foreign country. New converts were flowing in. Thousands were getting baptized in international conventions. Under the leadership of Nathan Knorr, a special emphasis was given on training every Jehovah's Witness to become an effective Bible teacher. This was a time of growth. Congregations were springing up all over the world, in Africa, Latin America, Japan, Thailand, even in countries where the preaching work was still banned. Jehovah's Witnesses were sharing a message of hope. Study the Bible with us and you'll be part of a worldwide family who will inherit a paradise earth where suffering and death will be no more. This was an attractive message, and before the advent of the internet, it was very difficult to fact-check the claims of the organization. If you wanted to read the Watchtower publications from previous decades, you had to go to the library in a kingdom hall, and you would have to search through dozens of books. I can't stress this enough, but the fact that our parents did not have the internet back in the 70s and 80s meant that they were much easier targets for indoctrination. Once the internet came along and they could actually, go into the internet and fact check their religion, at that point they had to spend decades in the organization, and waking up that late would be devastating. They had invested their entire lives to the religion. So this is why the JW religion was able to grow so fast in the 60s and 70s. They had a fairly clear due date for Armageddon, they had no access to the internet, and society was generally more religious back then as well. In this context, the rise of the Jehovah's Witnesses is not a surprise, but it's exactly what you would expect.
These students and thousands like them have graduated from Gilead and have entered the missionary field. This involves sharing the good news along jungle rivers of South America, and by flying into remote and isolated villages where interested persons are located.
But our generation is completely different. It's not that we are smarter than our parents, I don't believe that. It's just that we have the internet and we have access to pretty much unlimited information. Just think about what you do when you're in a new town and you want to check out like a new restaurant or something. You pull out Google Maps and check the reviews. If I see that a restaurant has less than 4 stars on Google Maps, I usually don't go to it, even if 3 stars is actually more than average. I believe something similar can happen with religion. If Jehovah's Witnesses approach someone in the streets, it's very likely this person would have heard something about the religion at this point. And what do most people know about Jehovah's Witnesses? Oh, they don't celebrate birthdays. They knock on doors on Saturday mornings. They don't accept blood transfusions. At best, Jehovah's Witnesses are seen as a strange yet harmless group that don't celebrate Christmas and are a little too enthusiastic about converting people. But at worst, Jehovah's Witnesses are seen as a dangerous cult that encourages shunning and covers up CSA. Either of these positions are not going to encourage someone to convert, and if this potential convert knows nothing about the religion, all he needs is one Google search to come up with a YouTube video exposing some drama or showcasing some cartoon propaganda, because it only takes one video exposing the religion to turn someone away from the Jehovah's Witnesses. One video. The odds are completely against them. You have no idea how happy I get every time I get a comment from a young person in this channel. It means they are well aware that this religion is a cult. It makes it much harder to convert them. I have also received hundreds of comments from current Jehovah's Witnesses who are still part of the religion but no longer believe, and they're just waiting for the right time to get out. The internet has allowed these young people to realize that their religion is not actually true, and not only that, it has given them a sense of community to see that there's other young people like them that have left the religion, and that really goes a long way in helping someone leave the cult. All of these are opportunities that our parents didn't really have. And even if a young JW refuses to watch anything negative about their religion on YouTube, they still have to face the inconsistencies inside the religion itself. Our parents' generation had a fairly clear timetable for Armageddon. The 1914 generation would not pass away before the end. Even if there was no exact date for Armageddon, a generation still had an expiration date of, no more than 100 years. Sure, there had been failed predictions already, namely 1914 and 1925, but our parents had no way of knowing this, since the Watchtower whitewashed its own history. But young Jehovah's Witnesses living in the year 2025 know that it's been more than 100 years since 1914. They have seen David's plane abandon the original 1914 generation teaching, replacing it with some overlapping generation nonsense which no one quite understands. They have heard about their grandparents expecting Armageddon within their lifetimes, only to grow older and die right before their eyes. And most crucially, the new JWs have seen COVID-19 come and go without any sign that the end is near. I think COVID-19 was the perfect time for Armageddon to come. It was a global pandemic, and soon after, the war between Russia and Ukraine broke out. The fact that COVID is now in the past, and the Russian and Ukraine war is still, in its third year, and there's still no sign of Armageddon, must create some cognitive dissonance in these young people. COVID was this generation's 1975 event. Every JW around the world was sure that the end was imminent. Even governing body member Stephen Lett couldn't help himself, declaring this in JW broadcasting.
So the events unfolding around us are making clearer than ever that we're living in the final part of the last days, undoubtedly the final part of the final part of the last days, shortly before the last day of the last days.
I know his words have now become a meme in the ExJW community at this point, but to a believing Jehovah's Witness, all of this troubled history must present some cognitive dissonance. They must be wondering, what is going on? Why is Armageddon not here yet? And I believe that's the key to leaving this religion. Cognitive dissonance. When your beliefs are challenged to such a degree, you are forced to face them honestly. At least for me, leaving this religion was an act of self-preservation. I left not because I'm smarter or braver than anyone else. The thing is, having access to more information that showed the flaw in my religious beliefs led to more cognitive dissonance. The more I learned about history, science, and archaeology, the more doubts I was having. And the more doubts I had, the harder it became to continue as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Mind you, at this point in my life, I had never consumed so-called apostate videos. It was the inconsistencies in the religion itself that pushed me over the edge. This cognitive dissonance was destroying my mental health, to the point that it was now easier to accept that I was wrong, that to continue in this religion, deep down I knew was maybe not true. I knew that I could not ignore my doubts any longer. I had to find out if my religion was a lie. And that's when I decided to do research, and then I learned that, it was pretty much a lie. It was a religion built on falsehoods. Sure, it was painful, and leaving was not easy, but it was much more doable than staying in a religion I no longer believed in. This long process of doubts was not something I chose for myself. It was pushed upon me by my surroundings. A lot of things had to align to create the perfect circumstances for me to leave. Maybe if I would have had no access to the internet, or if COVID would have never happened, maybe I would still be a Jehovah's Witness. Rather, it was a combination of so many factors that put me on the path to leave the faith. And that's why I believe this religion is doomed. Because as more of the world gains access to the internet, the less likely they will be able to convert. And the more awareness is brought about the harmful practices of JWs and cult in general, the less likely someone is to fall for their sales pitch. Now, this doesn't mean that the religion will disappear. The truth is, there will always be people who need religion to find a sense of purpose or community or for any other reason. And that's okay. But the good thing is that even if a young person truly feels the need to draw close to God or to become more spiritual, they will most likely go for a version of religion that is not so extreme. Why join a sect that bans birthdays or blood transfusions when you can just join a church that is a little more accepting and compassionate, and that actually does charity work for its community? Even if Christianity was to enjoy a resurgence in the coming years, which, it's not impossible, Jehovah's Witnesses would still decrease in numbers just out of sheer bad publicity, because it's much harder to dismiss an entire religious tradition like Christianity than to dismiss one fringe religion with a clear record of failed predictions.
And you can read the Bible and watch videos.
Really busy, kid.
Another thing I haven't even mentioned, but I still consider super important, is the clear demoralization that has occurred in the religion in the past 5 years. The preaching zeal that was demonstrated by our parents and grandparents back in the 60s and 70s is no longer there. Sure, some individuals are still quite devout and will sacrifice everything for the preaching work, but it's safe to say that the majority of Jehovah's Witnesses have lost their sense of urgency by now. And who can blame them? Our parents might have faced some opposition back in the day, but people in general were more receptive to religion. Now most people at the door will say they're not interested or will not even answer. And that has to have a demoralizing effect on the rank and file members, even if they don't openly express it. All those experiences in the old yearbooks of missionaries traveling to foreign countries to preach to hundreds of receptive people hungry for a Bible study are simply not there anymore. The truth is, at this day and age, very few people are interested in what Jehovah's Witnesses are selling. If you have a receptive audience who's down to study the Bible with you, you will feel more motivated to go out and preach. But if all you get in the ministry is annoyed householders and doors slammed on your face, then what even is the point? Why go the extra mile in converting people when all you get is apathy? You might as well just stay home most of the month and then go out like maybe once or twice a month to knock on doors and check a little box, and yeah, you're good. The truth is, it's never been easier to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, this easing of restrictions and regulations might reduce the number of people leaving the religion, and it will probably inflate the numbers in the yearly report, but it will also reduce the number of converts. Because what allowed the religion to grow in the first place was an army of zealous pioneers going out and preaching, but the zeal is mostly gone. And if you're not making enough converts to replace the members who are dying out, that means it's only a matter of time before the demographics collapse. And with each new generation of JWs being less zealous than the last one, the religion will only be able to survive by indoctrinating more babies. And having babies in this economy, I don't need to tell you, it's not looking very good. I really don't think this religion is making enough converts to replace the old people that are dying out. So I think eventually in the future, Watchtower will just have to stop reporting the numbers entirely, because I think there's gonna be a demographic collapse in the religion, but again, only time will tell. You see how this combination of factors, the internet, less religiousness in society, less zeal in the ministry, and cognitive dissonance just combine together to form the perfect storm for this religion? I don't know about you, maybe you can tell me in the comments, but I don't see the way that this religion is gonna grow much in the coming years. We know the growth has plateaued, it's not growing very much, and I just don't see how they're gonna get out of this. And even if Watchtower wins a few legal battles, even if they win Norway and get a few $1 million back every year, I think they're still gonna lose the war. So here's what you can do to accelerate the downfall of the Watchtower. If you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness watching this, you don't need to make a YouTube channel or become an activist, although it would be pretty cool if you do. The best thing you can do really is to live your best life. No, I'm serious. Jehovah's Witnesses have this idea that once you leave the religion, you will be miserable and eventually come back crawling to Jehovah. But when you live your best life, you are showing that it is a complete lie. Even if your life is not perfect, spoiler alert, it's never gonna be perfect, you have still found a sense of purpose and worth outside the religion, and that is the best way to fight against the Watchtower. Now, if you've never been a Jehovah's Witness, then please be kind towards JWs. If you decide to receive them at your door, JWs imagine the whole world is against them. But when you show them worldly people can be kind and hospitable, that can actually have a deep impact on their way of thinking. I know it did for me. And one last thing you can do is to support channels like this one. I know, it sounds like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but when you leave a like and leave comments and share with a family member, it really does help the algorithm push this video to more people. And you know, like I said, it only takes one single video for a potential convert to draw away from the religion, to become aware of the troubles, of the negative things that go on in the cult, and they're much less likely to convert. So again guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. And like I've said before, my main objective with this channel is not to take current Jehovah's Witnesses out of the religion, because that's their choice. My main objective is to spread awareness of the harmful practices of the religion and to keep potential converts from joining. I think that's my main objective, because I don't want to see them get hurt over this over these dumb rules.
Good answer.
But that's enough from me. Please let me know your comments below. I know a lot of these are just educated guesses, but I think I'm confident in my predictions, and I think most of what I've said today is pretty reasonable. But if you don't think so, please let me know in the comments below, or let me know your own theories about the future of this religion. It would be cool to read them. So yeah, if you'd like to support my work, please head on over to Patreon or become a channel member. It's only $1 a month and you gain early access to all my work. As always guys, thank you so much for your support. Take it easy, have a wonderful day, and stay away from the tower.
Bah. Goodbye, little sheep.